Go again. Morning, Dawn.
Morning, Mark.
All well? Good?
Yes, thanks. I had a lie-in this morning.
Yeah.
Didn't get up at 6 o'clock.
I was up really early, just after.
You were.
Anyway, it's episode 81, Friday, the 12th of June, 2020. I was just thinking we've been through spells of, I don't know, reflection, liberation, and then a little bit of, I wonder how this is going to go, to a bit of anger and tension in the world now, and now confusion. So it's yeah.
It's called a roller coaster. Yeah, that's why they go up and down, because that's what life's like, isn't it?
And we realised we thought we had quite a simple scenario with this bubble situation being announced. We've got 3 of us in the house, plus Oscar, the dog, and we've got 3 in the annex down the garden, which is Dominique and the two little girls. One's gone back to school, and the big question was, do we form a bubble so they can come inside our house as specified? And you'd think it would be straightforward, but of course it's not, because when we thought about it, either one from either household gets a cold or symptoms, cough, temperature.
Not a cold, Mark. If you're showing high fever and a cough, that's coronavirus. If you've got a cold, there is a vast difference in it, but you will have a fever. Well, I always have a fever with my cold, so there you go.
So rather than have 3 people affected and having to isolate, it becomes 6. It's a difficult one, isn't it? So
it is.
Don't have to say too much more, but there you go.
On the hand, you've got like, I can have a cuddle with the grandchildren, and then hold on a second, if something happens because Nicole's trying to run a business from here, and then it just escalates, doesn't it? So you've got to think of everything. And as I said to you last night, I'm not going to do this unless everyone's happy with the way forward. So it is a dilemma. It's not as easy as everyone thinks, and each person has got to weigh it up. I've now been told that my dad's got to have a heart operation, so I don't particularly want to be isolating for 14 days, just in case he needs his operation in those 14 days. So I'm in a right dilemma, aren't I? Never mind.
Yeah, it's but we've got some very well-educated people out there who will no doubt give us a little bit of their viewpoints on this. So yeah. Anyway, they're not so well-educated that they could get the music from yesterday.
Mark, let's be fair to them. There is the song that they came up with has a very similar introduction to the one that you've got. So just play a little bit more and just be fair to these people rather than being horrible.
They've not been fair to me. They've been too good. So, making me look a bit silly with my...
Maybe you're useless. Who knows? I don't mind telling you you're useless, because you'll come and hit me later. Come on, let's get on with the music.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to remember people. Oh, it was
Angie. You've guessed it.
We've got to get the link to "Lucky Star" by Madonna from 2 days ago. We're still on this, okay?
Oh goodness!
So here we go. Here we go. I'll give you. I think I gave 3 seconds this time. I'll give 4 today.
Okay.
Yeah, a little bit extra. I think that. Yeah, interesting one. This one.
I think that a little bit extra didn't record, I'm afraid, but never mind, because I heard it out there, but I didn't hear it on here.
You want to do it quickly again?
Yes, please.
Got the technology. Hold tight.
That's better.
Okay, maybe even a fraction more there. 4.5 seconds.
Maybe.
We've never had a 2-day rollover. It's quite exciting. Anyway,
Mark,
they're struggling on the catchphrase as well. Yesterday.
No, Steve Fury he recognised the person, so that was half of the battle.
Which was Jeff Bridges.
Yeah.
With Oscar. but he was focusing on the bridges. He should have been focusing on the Jeff, because it was Mutt and Jeff.
Yes, mustard.
Yeah. So
To call our dog a mutt is a bit much, though, I have to say.
okay, well, he's starring again, and he's coming up in a second. I've noticed a weakness with this, but I'm not going to tell you. I'll tell you afterwards. Here you go, Oscar. How you doing? Look, there you go. What are you thinking, hey? What are you thinking? What are you thinking? Got any ideas? No? Okay. There we go. You're showing symptoms. Careful. All right.
You don't be isolated. The trouble is, Mark, I do most of the things. I go out and meet people, and I'm doing it. I'm more likely to come down with it than anyone else.
I'm not commenting.
No, exactly. Come on, get
right.
on.
Feedback from yesterday. Graham Sakers made some granolas.
Granola bars.
Turn that off, please. Yeah, granola bars. Yeah. And we wonder whether he's actually eaten them and whether he slept okay. But there you go. He's done it, so well done. Steve Fury talked about being in awe of people when you're young becomes respect when you're older, which I thought was very good, very good. I think people could relate to that, you know, attitude to people that you held in awe. Nobody seems to agree with something Hubert Bunce threw out there, which is you're only as good as your last race in running. Yeah, which I think that's a bit tough to just be as good as your last race. You know, talk about some of them like Steve Fury, Barry Royden.
Yeah, it was good to hear from the runners as well. You know, the people who are still running, etc., to get their view as well, because I think at the end of the day, I don't think a lot of things define you.
Yeah, I think you're actually as good as your pinnacle. You're as good as your best race. You know. Well, Lassie Viren, he's as good. How good was he? Double Olympic champion. That's what you talk about. You don't talk about some Gateshead when he was stuffed or whatever.
I do think in sport you latch on to the successes of people as opposed to the failure. But in everything else, in other walks of life, we always think of the failures and we latch on to those, etc. Not any of the good things, etc. So I think in sport we are sort of like, well, you know, when the commentators are commentating, they're talking about PBs, they're talking about the best that they've ever been, etc. So that sort of like, you know, in a sense, I suppose you could think it's bigging them up, but that they're talking about the best they've ever been. So I think in sport, certainly in running, I think you're probably right. You're as good as your best run that you've ever had, and how you feel, etc. After that.
Yeah, good. Thank you to everybody who commented about the destruction of statues around the country. Quite a few comments. Won't go into them all here. But yeah, I sort of I'm a bit of a hypocrite here, because at one point I'm saying, I'm not sure about posting on social media about sensitive issues. But on the other hand, I'm also people I know who are brave enough to step off the fence and comment. You know, I respect. So as long as it's done in a pleasant way. So yeah, good on everybody who commented. Thanks for that. Scott Shermer reckons he's got a problem because he's entering races when he's inebriated and he can't remember entering them, and he wondered if anyone else has had that situation. I mean,
Grazia has, definitely.
Grazia, well, it wasn't a race, it was a challenge she agreed to. But yeah, Tony Fulbrook was the closest we could come up with, because his wife doesn't seem to recall him telling her about all the races that he's entered. So I think you could probably relate to that sort of situation.
No, you're not entering races. You'll say to me the day before you're doing something, oh, by the way, if you remembered, and I don't honestly, my memory is pretty good, and so if I don't remember, I sort of say to you, but you haven't told me, and then we have a little, not an argument, we have a little tiff or a back to front, we have a little dialogue, don't we, about, oh, you don't tell me about this and you don't tell me about that, and etc etc. So, and I think it's because we do tend to be very independent and sort of like, you probably think you've told me,
Oh, no,
or you've got another woman.
no, it's a tactic. It's a tactic. It's
Oh,
better. Attack is far
ah,
better than defence, to be honest.
this is why we'll end up having a little tiff about it as opposed to an argument, because I know that you haven't told me.
There is no right. If I tell you a week before, you go, "Why haven't you told me?" If I tell you a day before, you go, "Why haven't you told me?"
No, I wouldn't say that a week before. I'd think, oh right, okay, I'll put that on. The thing is, I've got a whiteboard on the fridge, and I write everything I'm doing on my whiteboard.
Do
And
you?
at the moment, yes. And at the moment, all I've got on my whiteboard is Oscar's hydro, because that's all I do. And obviously, I go out shopping. But when I go out shopping, most of the times, or I'll come and say to you, I'm off shopping at the moment. But that's my life, okay? I mean, if I'm out in the garden, I expect you to come and find me. That's tough. But you will say, you will arrange something with, I don't know, 2 or 3 runners, etc. And then you'll say, oh, I'm off training. And this would be like on Tuesday. I'm off training tonight and I'm going on Wednesday as well.
Yeah.
And then I think, right, okay, and what time are we going to eat? Oh, what time are you going to be back? And then I cook, Mark. And if you think I can just wave a wand and magically bring a dinner up at the particular time that you arrive home, you're an idiot.
No, it's not a wand. What do they call? Not a cauldron. What do they use? What do they use? Not a broomstick. Hey, what is it? What is it they use? Okay, Grazia, related to what I was saying about we tend to dwell on criticism. Poor lady at work did a fantastic presentation, and they did a feedback form, and 35 out of 36 were really good, and one couldn't hear her properly, and she got upset about the one that couldn't hear her properly. And yeah, I can sort of understand that. It's difficult to rationalise, but
No, they could be like you, selective hearing.
it could be, or had a bad connection, as Grazia pointed out.
Yeah, could be. I mean, anything can happen.
Yeah.
I wouldn't take that one too much to heart. I would think, oh, the technology probably isn't there.
Yeah. Hubert from Canada, he said he's still in awe of some of the young, talented sports people at various times. Nadia Comaneci remembers being in awe of for a performance at the Olympics with all the tens. Although Hubert would have been about 16 at the time as well. So
I think if Hubert looked at, if he saw a video of Nadia Comaneci and then he saw today's gymnastics, I think he would probably change his mind, because it's moved on and it's much. I don't even know how they begin to do it.
No. And he also said that the other bit of advice, if he was Rudyard Kipling, he'd give to a youngster moving to adulthood, is respect experience.
I agree slightly with that one, but I think that, and I do think this is missing, and I'm turning into my mother here, because she always said to me, oh, they're not as good as they used to be, etc. They're not as polite. And I think that the youngsters should respect other, full stop, in the sense that they should just take a second out and look at it from a different angle, or see both sides of something. I don't want to get back into statues and God knows what else, but I do think the youngsters sort of like rush in full fizz. This is my opinion, bump, and that you need a bang on the table, unfortunately. And so I just think sometimes if you took a step back and you reflected, then I think you might just come up with a different opinion.
Okay, good. Well, that was some really good feedback, and we made us think a little bit. I've got a few little subjects could have spoke, but this is my effort in terms of Rudyard Kipling. If I asked yesterday what other advice people get. Did you have anything you would like to add?
No, because I have to respond to you. I try not to think too much.
Okay. Let's see if this will make you think. I'm not. It's not the best poetry. I'm sure somebody could come up with something a lot better. But I scribbled this down last night. This is verse 5, or it might be verse 4 before going into verse 5. If you are going to date someone, go for their mind, not their looks, or at least consider their personality. If you really have to have a tattoo, consider where it's going, and never have one when totally inebriated. If you get the chance to know people, take the opportunity, as it's not what you know, but who you know that matters. And if you have to post on social media at any stage, keep it clean, considered and kind. Do you like
Very good.
Do you like that?
Yeah, I do.
Any thoughts? You can't agree with all of it, surely. You ain't got a tattoo, have you?
No, you don't like tattoos, but you're probably right, because a lot of people do get tattoos when they have been inebriated. So at the end of the day, they do need to think about it. Also,
Hang on, we could send in your photos on the feedback of your tattoos. We saw Steve Fury's, didn't we? We saw Steve Fury's.
yeah, but, I mean, some of them today it's art. It's not like, like years ago, the sailors, if you were in the Navy, you didn't have anything to do when you had shore leave, so you got a tattoo. So that's what part and parcel of it, etc. But then I think you're right. You've got to think where it goes, etc. But I mean, a lot of what you've said is ringing bells with me anyway.
Yeah. It reminds me of the joke about the bloke who was in the shower with his mates after football, and somebody said, "Why did you have Ludo tattooed on your on your willy?" He says, "It's not Ludo, it's Llandudno." There you go. That's one to finish with. Okay.
Goodbye.
Cheerio. Bye.